You see Marinka City in this video, as it was as of August 2021. It is located only a few miles from the demarcation line, and I lived here with her family before moving. We have had a war there that started in 2014. We lived all this time in our house. There were scary times, but I do not remember that we had such a terrible time. The woman recalls as the war started in 2014. I remember this day. It was about 11 p.m. and suddenly, the lights went down and the grads started to shell our city. We exited the house and saw everything covered in a haze. It was the smoke from the fires burning everywhere. But what is happening today is 150 times worse. Back in that time, the city was destroyed by about 15%. Today, it is about 80%. Now, in Marinka, as the woman tells, all stores, drugstores, educational facilities, and administrative buildings are destroyed. Her house remains standing, but the summer kitchen, garage, and barn are wrecked. On her street, only one neighbor remained to live in his house, the rest left. Those who stayed feel especially hard. They can't buy bread or water. They don't even have technical water in the tap. Everyone has wells, but they only work with electricity. The water was gone a month ago. The troops have devastated something, and the water did not flow since then. When the full-power invasion into Ukraine started, Anna was in the 8th month of pregnancy. She really worried about the birth of her second child. A woman had to depart to a neighboring city to have the labor of her first child because of the war. Since February 24th, Anna had to move to the basement of the local hospital. She says there were about 100 people there. Over time, the number of people increased. They used pot-belly stoves to cook food. They brought us coal. We burned it to boil the water. Someone cooked soup for their children, others cooked potatoes, porridges, macaroni, everything they had. The family had decided to leave their native city. Anna recalls as she was gathering their belongings to drive away, it took half an hour and the time was constantly interrupted by getting down on the floor to cover a child from the shots and shelling. Just as we hit the road, it was a huge blast. I simply don't know how we made it because now there is a large explosion crater in the ground, so I don't know how the people who leave the city can drive around it. We were fleeing the city, breaking all the traffic laws. We were terrified for the child. First of all, I covered my child with blankets and everything I had. The family arrived at Prikarpatia by the end of March and settled in Pilo village in the Kalish region. They gave them a house where they live today. Anna tells that they didn't plan to go exactly here, they simply ran away to some place where it was safe. The woman has already registered with the local women's clinic and is getting ready for her second labor. In early April, Anna's mother-in-law arrived. Her house burned to the ground as a result of shelling on March 16. Luckily, her husband and she were at this moment in the basement of the hospital.
I didn't even take any clothes to change. Nothing left, everything burned down in flame. I didn't even take anything as a keepsake. I thought back then something should remain, but no, everything burned down. Completely. I cannot convey the feelings I had when I found it out. Where do we go now? Where do we live?
As Lyudmila tells, she was able to escape the city thanks to the police. Then she rode on a bus to get to Dnipro, and from there, she took the train to get to western Ukraine. She tells that she still cannot believe that she was able to make it through, to get away from the devastated city. Although, she worries about her husband, who stayed in the city.
He told me, this is my city. I will stay in my city. I couldn't knock him away from staying there.
Are you scared for him?
Yes, I do. Very much, but we have a connection. He is still alive in the shelter. The volunteers come to their shelter and bring canned food, bread, and water whenever they can. The volunteers also evacuate the citizens who wish to leave the city.
привозять, і воду привозять. Все для них теж стараються. Хто хоче, виїжджає, вивозять.
Галина Марійшина, Роман Тоджижук. Новини на Суспільному. Івано-Франківщина.